After age 50, even a small atherosclerotic plaque inside an artery can mean the difference between life and a stroke. But what if there were a simple way to clean your blood vessels, improve blood flow to the brain, lower blood pressure, and prevent heart attacks without relying on more medication? Would you want to know about it? The surprising truth is that not every vegetable you eat is helping your heart. In fact, some vegetables that seem healthy can quietly damage the vessel walls, trigger inflammation, and increase your risk of stroke if prepared or consumed incorrectly. So which vegetables actually help restore the endothelium, lower homocysteine, relax blood vessels naturally, and reduce cholesterol? And which so-called healthy foods are actually harmful and should be avoided as soon as possible? In this video, you'll get a step-by-step guide on how to properly use 5 science-backed vegetables that help prevent heart attacks and strokes, especially for people over 50. This information could change the way you look at your daily meals and help you take full control of your vascular health. Beets. Beets are one of the most powerful vegetables for supporting vascular health due to their naturally high nitrate content. Once consumed, these nitrates are converted into nitric oxide, a molecule that plays a key role in relaxing blood vessels, improving blood flow to the heart and brain, and reducing the strain on artery walls. Boosting nitric oxide production helps lower blood pressure, reduce the workload on the heart, and limit the risk of clot formation in small arteries. This is especially important for people over 50 as blood vessels begin to lose elasticity with age. Adding nitrate-rich foods like beets to your diet can help slow down arterial stiffening and reduce the risk of heart attacks and ischemic strokes. A study from the British Heart Foundation found that drinking beet juice daily can lower systolic blood pressure by an average of 4 to 5 mmHg, a reduction significant enough to decrease stroke risk by up to 10% in older adults with a history of hypertension. In addition to nitrates, beets also provide soluble fiber, potassium, folate, and betalains, all of which help reduce inflammation and offer strong antioxidant protection. However, it's important to note that beets only support vascular health when used correctly. They should be consumed steamed or as fresh juice. Avoid overcooking or stir-frying them at high temperatures, as this can destroy the nitrate content. Also, do not pair beets with overly salty foods or processed red meats, as this may counteract their benefits. For people over 50, adding beets to the daily diet can not only help lower blood pressure but also improve cerebral circulation, boost memory, and reduce headaches caused by poor blood flow to the brain. 2. Leafy greens. Leafy greens such as spinach, kale, bok choy, and arugula have a powerful impact on heart and vascular health due to their combination of natural nitrate, folate, vitamin K, and antioxidants. The nitric oxide produced from the nitrate in leafy greens helps dilate blood vessels, improve blood flow, and effectively lower blood pressure in individuals over 50 whose arteries may already be stiff or damaged. Folate plays a crucial role in breaking down homocysteine, an amino acid that, when elevated, can trigger vascular inflammation and promote atherosclerosis, increasing the risk of heart attack and stroke. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition has shown that regularly eating leafy greens can significantly lower homocysteine levels, particularly in people with a genetic predisposition to cardiovascular disease. Vitamin K in leafy greens also helps regulate blood clotting and prevents abnormal clot formation inside blood vessels, which is a major cause of ischemic stroke. In addition, these vegetables are rich in antioxidants like lutein and zeaxanthin, which protect the endothelium from oxidative stress, strengthen blood vessels, and support cardiac function during physical activity. To get the full benefit, leafy greens should be eaten fresh, lightly steamed, or quickly sautéed in olive oil at low heat. Avoid overcooking, which can destroy water-soluble vitamins. Also, avoid canned greens or those prepared with high sodium sauces, as excess sodium can raise blood pressure. For adults over 50, including leafy greens in 1 to 2 meals each day is not just a way to manage blood pressure, but also serves as a natural barrier against heart attacks and strokes. 3. Asparagus. Asparagus is a unique vegetable with high value in preventing cardiovascular disease due to its natural combination of nutrients that help reduce inflammation, control blood pressure, and support vascular function. One of the key benefits of asparagus is its high folate content, a vital nutrient involved in breaking down homocysteine in the blood. When homocysteine builds up, it can damage the endothelium, trigger inflammation, and contribute to plaque formation inside the arteries. This silent process plays a central role in the development of heart attacks and strokes, especially in older adults. A study from Harvard University found that elevated homocysteine levels are directly linked to a higher risk of heart attack in people over 50, and adequate folate intake can significantly reduce this risk. In addition to folate, asparagus is rich in insoluble fiber, which helps regulate cholesterol, potassium to manage blood pressure, and glutathione, a powerful antioxidant that protects vascular cells from oxidative damage. Asparagus also supports liver and kidney function, which are essential for regulating blood pressure and filtering toxins from the bloodstream. To get the most benefit, asparagus should be lightly roasted, steamed, or quickly sautéed in a small amount of healthy oil, such as extra virgin olive oil. Avoid overcooking or preparing it with high-sodium sauces, as this can reduce its nutritional value and increase fluid retention, particularly in older adults with a history of high blood pressure. For those over 50, including asparagus in meals 2 to 3 times per week is a safe, easy, and sustainable way to help lower the risk of blood clots and maintain healthy blood pressure naturally.
4. Okra. Okra is one of the few vegetables that provides both soluble, gel-like fiber and natural plant compounds that help soothe the blood vessels and stabilize blood pressure. The thick mucilaginous gel found in okra, called mucilage, is key in reducing the absorption of LDL, or bad cholesterol, in the small intestine and helping eliminate it through the stool. This process directly supports the prevention of plaque buildup inside the arteries, which is a major cause of atherosclerosis and heart attack risk. Mucilage also slows the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream, helping to stabilize blood glucose and reduce insulin resistance, both of which are known to damage the endothelium over time. Several studies have found that regular consumption of okra may improve insulin sensitivity and help regulate blood sugar in older adults, especially those with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. In addition to mucilage, okra is a good source of potassium, magnesium, and vitamin C, which contribute to natural vasodilation, reduced arterial stiffness, and anti-inflammatory effects. Another important benefit is okra's ability to protect blood vessel walls from oxidative stress, thanks to the natural flavonoids found in its skin and seeds. To maximize these benefits, okra should be cooked until just tender. Steamed or lightly simmered in soup is ideal. Avoid deep frying or stir-frying with excessive oil, as high heat can destroy mucilage and negate its cholesterol-lowering properties. Canned okra or okra cooked with high saturated fat ingredients should also be avoided. For people over 50, including okra in the diet 3 to 4 times a week can be a highly effective strategy to help cleanse the arteries, improve blood pressure, and reduce the risk of both coronary and cerebral artery blockages. 5. Purple cabbage. Purple cabbage is one of the richest natural sources of anthocyanins, the plant pigments responsible for its deep red-purple color. Anthocyanins are powerful antioxidants that protect blood vessels from damage caused by free radicals and chronic inflammation. Studies have shown that anthocyanins can improve arterial elasticity, enhance endothelial function, and slow the buildup of arterial plaque in people at high cardiovascular risk, especially older adults. In addition to anthocyanins, purple cabbage is high in vitamin C, vitamin K1, and anti-inflammatory compounds like sulforaphane, which helps boost liver detoxification enzymes, clear excess oxidative compounds, and protect the inner lining of the arteries. Purple cabbage also provides insoluble fiber that helps regulate cholesterol levels and supports healthy digestion, which in turn eases the workload on the circulatory system. For those over 50, it also plays a key role in reducing the risk of blood clots due to its vitamin K content and helps maintain stable blood pressure with its potassium and flavonoid compounds. To preserve its full nutritional value, purple cabbage should be eaten raw in salads or lightly steamed. Avoid overcooking or exposing it to high heat, as anthocyanins are highly sensitive to heat and moisture. You should also avoid combining it with vinegar or acidic ingredients, which can break down the pigments and reduce their vascular protective effects. For people over 50, including purple cabbage in your meals 2 to 3 times per week is a simple but effective way to slow the progression of atherosclerosis, reduce stroke risk, and support healthy blood pressure without relying solely on medication. Many people over the age of 50 start paying more attention to their health and try to eat better. But one major concern is that some foods labeled as heart-healthy may actually harm blood vessels if used incorrectly or without a clear understanding of their ingredients. Below are 10 common foods often used by older adults to improve their health that can, in reality, raise the risk of atherosclerosis, high blood pressure, and stroke if not properly managed.
Bottled vegetable juice. While it may sound nutritious, most commercially produced vegetable juices are extremely high in sodium, sometimes over 400 milligrams per serving. That amount is enough to raise blood pressure, especially in older adults whose arteries may already be stiff or damaged. In addition, the sterilization and preservation process often destroys the natural antioxidants found in fresh vegetables. Dried vegetable snacks. Snacks like sweet potato chips, dried carrots, or crunchy kale are often marketed as healthy alternatives, but in reality, they're frequently fried in oil and contain added flavoring agents and refined salt. Regular consumption of these snacks not only increases intake of empty calories, but also contributes to chronic inflammation in the blood vessel lining. Pre-packaged salad kits. Many people turn to prepackaged salads for convenience, but they often overlook the ingredients in the dressing that comes with them. Many dressings contain refined vegetable oils, hidden sugars, and preservatives that can trigger inflammatory responses and disrupt lipid metabolism. Even if the greens are fresh, just one small packet of dressing can cancel out the cardiovascular benefits of the entire meal. Commercially pickled vegetables. Packaged kimchi, pickled mustard greens, or other factory-made pickled vegetables usually contain excessive amounts of sodium and chemical preservatives. This can lead to chronic high blood pressure and fluid retention in older adults. Furthermore, nitrites produced during industrial fermentation may form nitrosamines, compounds known to damage blood vessels and brain function. Canned fruit juice labeled no added sugar. Even though these juices don't contain refined sugar, they still have very high levels of naturally occurring fructose. This can easily spike post-meal blood sugar and promote insulin resistance. Chronically high blood sugar damages the endothelium and increases the risk of plaque formation in the arteries. Packaged whole grain bread. Some products labeled as whole grain still contain a significant amount of refined flour, dough softeners, added sugars, and salt to enhance texture and shelf life. These additives reduce the true fiber content, and any potential benefit to blood vessel health is largely lost. Low-fat fruit-flavored yogurt. Many of these products are loaded with hidden sugars or corn syrup to compensate for the flavor lost during fat removal. These sugars can elevate triglyceride levels, increase inflammation, and accelerate the development of atherosclerosis. Canned vegetable soup. Although convenient and seemingly healthy, a single can of vegetable soup may contain 800 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium. Additionally, the high-temperature sterilization process often destroys most of the vitamin C and polyphenols, key nutrients for heart health. Vegetables cooked with margarine or hydrogenated oils. Some people cook vegetables using margarine or hardened vegetable oil to add flavor, not realizing these fats often contain trans fats. Trans fats raise LDL bad cholesterol, lower HDL good cholesterol, and significantly increase the risk of atherosclerosis. Over-roasted or charred vegetables. When vegetables are roasted at high temperatures or become charred, their vitamins and antioxidants degrade. The dry heat can also produce inflammatory compounds like acrylamide, which may harm the cardiovascular system if consumed frequently over time. For adults over 50, The belief that they are eating healthy while unknowingly consuming harmful foods disguised under healthy labels can lead to serious consequences. The key is not just choosing the right vegetables, but also understanding how to prepare them and avoiding hidden threats that the body may not signal right away. Heart attacks and strokes share a common root cause: blockage within the vascular system. As we age, the body gradually accumulates silent changes inside the arteries, especially those that supply blood to the heart and brain. These changes often produce no noticeable symptoms until blood flow is completely obstructed. That's when a heart attack or stroke occurs. One of the primary drivers of this condition is the formation of atherosclerotic plaque. These plaques are made up of oxidized LDL cholesterol, inflammatory cells, calcium, and cellular debris that build up along the arterial walls. Over time, these plaques grow larger, narrowing the vessel and restricting blood flow. If a plaque ruptures, the body responds by forming a blood clot at the injury site. If the clot is large enough to fully block blood flow, the result is a heart attack if it occurs in the coronary arteries, or a stroke if it happens in the cerebral arteries. In addition to plaque buildup, high blood pressure is another key factor that damages blood vessels. When blood consistently exerts excessive pressure on the arterial walls, the delicate inner lining, called the endothelium, begins to tear. This creates an opening for cholesterol and inflammatory cells to accumulate. That's why individuals with uncontrolled hypertension are at a significantly higher risk of both strokes and heart attacks. Another biological factor is elevated homocysteine levels in the blood. Homocysteine is an amino acid produced during protein metabolism. If not effectively cleared, it can build up and trigger vascular inflammation. After age 50, the body's metabolic efficiency often slows, particularly in those with deficiencies in folate, vitamin B6, or B12. This can lead to elevated homocysteine, which directly harms the endothelial lining. Furthermore, oxidative stress and chronic inflammation also play central roles in the development of vascular disease. Free radicals generated from processed foods, smoking, environmental toxins, or metabolic disorders can weaken blood vessel cells, trigger inflammation, and disrupt vascular function. Persistent inflammation causes arteries to thicken, lose elasticity, and become more prone to injury, while also reducing their ability to heal. This explains why heart attacks and strokes, though often sudden in onset, tend to have severe and lasting consequences in older adults. It's important to understand that no single factor causes a heart attack or stroke. These events are the result of years of accumulation from poor diet, lack of physical activity, uncontrolled blood pressure, diabetes, excess weight, chronic stress, and a deficiency in nutrients that protect blood vessels. The vegetables presented in this video are designed to help interrupt each link in that chain of disease progression. They don't just supply antioxidants, they help regulate blood pressure, reduce inflammation, lower cholesterol, and prevent blood clots, effectively disrupting the progression toward heart attacks and strokes.
Understanding how these conditions develop is the first step toward prevention. When you know exactly what's happening inside your arteries, you're more motivated to take control, starting with the small, daily choices you make at each meal. After understanding the important role each vegetable plays in protecting your arteries and preventing heart attacks and strokes, the next step is having a practical plan to apply this knowledge to your daily meals. Doing this not only helps maintain long-term vascular health, but also becomes easy to sustain when done correctly. Below is a guide on how to use the 5 featured vegetables, along with a sample daily menu and key tips to avoid unintended negative effects. First is beets. This vegetable should be consumed fresh, either juiced or lightly steamed. Drinking beet juice in the morning about 30 minutes before breakfast can help optimize the conversion of nitrates into nitric oxide, which supports blood vessel dilation and lowers blood pressure. You can also add steamed, sliced beets to a lunch salad with olive oil and purple cabbage. Second is leafy greens. Rotate between varieties like spinach, kale, bok choy, and arugula to avoid monotony and ensure a wide range of nutrients.
Leafy greens should be eaten at least twice per day, one serving raw in a lunch salad and another steamed at dinner. When sautéing, use heart-healthy oils such as extra virgin olive oil and avoid animal fats or margarine, which can negate the cardiovascular benefits. Third is asparagus. Aim to include it 2 to 3 times per week. The best preparation methods are steaming or light roasting with olive oil. Asparagus pairs well with fatty fish like salmon, making it an excellent dinner option rich in omega-3s and folate. Avoid overcooking asparagus, as this can degrade its B vitamins and glutathione, which help protect the endothelial lining of your arteries. Fourth is okra. This vegetable is best prepared in a light soup, steamed, or gently boiled to preserve its mucilage, the sticky fiber that helps lower LDL cholesterol and stabilize blood sugar. For older adults, it's especially helpful to eat okra at lunch or dinner to support digestion and post-meal glucose control. Avoid high-heat stir-frying or deep-frying okra, as this destroys the mucilage structure and cancels its cardiovascular benefits. Fifth is purple cabbage. This should be eaten raw or lightly steamed to preserve its anthocyanins. A purple cabbage salad with shredded carrots, olive oil, and a splash of fresh lemon juice makes an ideal lunch side. Avoid marinating it in vinegar for too long or overcooking, as this reduces its anti-inflammatory potency. Here's a sample daily meal plan to put these recommendations into practice. Breakfast: 1 glass of fresh beet juice and 1 slice of truly whole-grain bread topped with unsalted almond butter. Lunch: a kale, purple cabbage, and steamed beet salad, dressed with extra virgin olive oil, served with a grilled skinless chicken breast. Afternoon meal: steamed asparagus with a lemon olive oil dipping sauce and a light okra soup with mushrooms and soft tofu. Dinner: pan-seared salmon served with sautéed spinach cooked quickly with garlic and olive oil, followed by a few fresh blueberries for dessert. Minimize the use of refined salt and bottled sauces when preparing these vegetables. Always choose fresh, organic produce when possible. Wash thoroughly before use and avoid chemical preservatives. Favor simple cooking methods with minimal seasoning and low heat to preserve the vegetable's natural bioactive compounds. Incorporating these vegetables consistently into your daily meals can have a significant positive impact on blood pressure, cholesterol levels, circulation, and the healing capacity of your blood vessels, especially important for those over 50. We're living in a time when heart disease and stroke are no longer rare or distant threats. Each year, millions of people lose their mobility, memory, or even their lives simply because they didn't realize their blood vessels had been silently damaged for years. The good news is you can start to reverse this process, starting with small changes to your daily diet. The 5 vegetables you just learned about aren't miracle cures, but they serve as a natural biological shield. They help repair vessel walls, stabilize blood pressure, reduce inflammation, and improve circulation in a safe and sustainable way. You don't need expensive medications or complex medical procedures. Sometimes all it takes is replacing a salty stir-fry with a bowl of simply steamed vegetables, or choosing a vegetable with proven vascular benefits instead of one that only seems healthy. In just a few weeks, you may start noticing real results. Don't wait for the first sign of chest pain to ask questions. Don't treat heart health like something to worry about later. Every meal you choose today is a decision for your blood flow tomorrow. If you found the information in this video helpful, please share it with loved ones or friends who are also in their 50s or older. Heart disease and stroke don't discriminate, but the right knowledge and the right action can put you back in control. And if you'd like to keep receiving clear, science-backed information without hype or fear, tap the follow button now. Each week, we'll bring you practical strategies for nutrition and lifestyle to help keep your heart strong year after year.